Welcome to the Head Shepherd Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Ferguson, CEO at Next and Agri International, where we help livestock managers get the best out of their stock. Before we get started, a big thanks to our three fantastic sponsors. Allflex, part of MSD, perhaps better known as Cooper's Animal Health in Australia, offers one of New Zealand and Australia's largest livestock product portfolios with a comprehensive suite of animal health and management products. Heininger is a one-stop shop for wool harvesting and animal fibre removal. The Heininger team have a deep understanding of livestock agriculture, backed by Swiss engineering and a family business dedicated to manufacturing the best. ProA Livestock Equipment have been delivering industry-leading livestock handling systems to producers across Australia, New Zealand and beyond for the last 25 years to improve on-farm safety, efficiency and profitability. We are grateful to our sponsors for their support, helping us bring Head Shepherd to you each week. And now it's time to get on with this week's episode.
Welcome back to Head Shepherd. Great to have you listening along. This is our first recording on the back of LambX. What a fantastic event that was. And great to catch up with lots of listeners there and have some really interesting chats. What an event. And looking forward to LambX 2028. We are locked and loaded. You'll definitely find the Next Gen Agri team there. We'll be definitely doing the Tweed pub crawl again. That was a great event to bring together people from all over the place for a bit of a relaxing evening. And so thanks to Flocksake for that idea, and thanks to all the sponsors that actually came on board to support that in the end as well, which was fantastic. So great event all round. This week on the show, we welcome Geoff Hayes. Geoff is part of our project Optimised Heifer Selection that we're running in conjunction with Meat and Livestock Australia as a producer demonstration site, where we're looking into utilising genomic tools as well as on-farm measurements and assessments to make better heifer selection decisions. We've actually got a webinar on that project coming up on the 29th of July at 7 o'clock New Zealand time, so 5 p.m. Eastern Standard, and we are chatting around that project on that webinar. So if you're interested in utilising those genomic tools in heifers, jump on there. So we've got Geoff Hayes this week. Geoff farms around Glen Innes. He's also a livestock agent up there and a real estate agent up there, and so knows a lot about the industry, has worked across the industry for a number of years, runs a herd of cattle up there and has been really interested in these genomic tools, and so he's been part of the project, and we thought we'd get him along to chat about the project as well as his enterprise and how he sees these genomic tools rolling out. We'll get underway with this week's show with Geoff Hayes. Welcome to Head Shepherd, Geoff Hayes.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for the opportunity to be on, and thanks for the opportunity to be part of the heifer program with MLO.
No, great, mate. Great to have you involved, and been listening to a few of these in your past, so it'll be good to have you on and get you on the other side of the listening. But we might start with a kind of bit of background about where you are and what you do, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so my partner Belinda and I, country just south of Glen Innes in the New England region of New South Wales, and operate a Angus breeding herd. Only been going 4 or 5 years now. When we started the herd up, it was sort of 2021, it was record bull prices, and we took on sort of share farm arrangement with her parents, look after their cattle as well, and we started to breed some yearling bulls, select some of those, and I was hesitant to just go and pick them visually. We needed to put some science into it, so we started to use the Legion identity test, and then it sort of gave us a bit of confidence in the genomics, and so now we're going next step to do it with the heifers. Yeah, that's about what we're up to.
Yeah, excellent. So south of Glen Innes, all beef or other things on?
A handful of Aussie white sheep, but yeah, they're sort of on the way out, but they're great things. Those shedding sheep, having spent in a past life, managed properties with some pretty big merino flocks and some different sort of an era in the market really. When I went to ag college for a couple of years and left, and it was in the flock reduction scheme days. So to see that side of it and then see where the market is now is just quite incredible.
Yeah, indeed. And I guess that region where you are is probably, in terms of change, it's probably seen as most, well, I guess lots of regions have changed a lot, but it would have been wall-to-wall fine wool sheep around there 30 years ago anyway.
Yeah, some massive flocks of fine wool sheep here and some massive herds of white-faced cattle, and it's just all changed quite dramatically, yeah.
So getting underway 5 years ago, obviously coming from managing a variety of places, what have been the wins? What have been the challenges?
I suppose we've got, so I operate a real estate livestock agency business in Glen Innes. So it's sort of the cattle and the farm, sort of the weekend thing for me. Belinda's on the farm pretty much most of the week. And then we do it together on the weekends, which is great, but it's just managing time and we're all time poor. Time's the only thing you can't get back, they always say. So it's a matter of balancing things and just trying to keep it simple but get it right. But we've probably changed our focus a bit. When we first started, pretty focused on some carcass traits and selected some bulls on that. Now we've probably shifted back a bit more into the middle and a bit more maternal, and certainly seen the benefits of how some of these imported size out of the US, the vigour and the survivability of those calves. And when we get pretty cold at times, and there's certainly some vigour in some of those calves, that's for sure.
Yeah, interesting. What was the sort of driver when you made that shift from in carcass? Was that muscle or IMF were you sort of chasing early days, or a bit of both? Or?
So when we started the genomic journey with the identity test, we just did a blanket 40 head across the herd, just random selection of cattle that we'd purchased, just recommended by Nugent at the time to do a base and then work out where the shortfalls are. So we were okay for IMF. We needed to increase ribeye area. That was the main basis of it, and we're still working along that. But we've probably changed and study more the bulls that we try and purchase and AI size we purchase. We try and get them out of cows that have got a lot of longevity in their background. And there's so much diversity in the Angus job these days. And the information's there. It's possible to do it. And just there's so many really good proven cows out there, and just try and select those lines.
Yeah, right. So has it been AI the whole time? You've been using since the last 5 years? You've been on AI, or?
Yeah, AI when the season permits.
Yeah.
And then bought bulls primarily from two studs, and they're similar pedigrees in the back end of those herds. So that's been the main. We haven't really dabbled around in IVF or anything. We've sort of tossed our ideas around at times, but we haven't gone down that path yet. But and that goes with the time poor bit, I suppose. So, but we're trying AI heifers each year, and then it's calving now for our spring herd. So we operate a spring and autumn herd. Lets us spread the cash flow a bit, as well as spread our bulls out a bit more. And the way the season,
minimise your time, mate. So.
Yeah, that's right. And the way the seasons seem to be a bit in and out these days, we don't know what a normal season is here anymore. So a bit of an each way bet, I guess. Yep.
Yeah, I guess it does. The further up there, it kind of has been a bit that way. The further south in the Mediterranean, you kind of know you used to know what you're going to get, but that seems to be all on its head. So a bit hard to know when the calf should be coming out, and you can't obviously 9 months before that, you've got to be making the call.
That's it. Yeah. So the ones that are calving now, we AI'd and had a good result. Got 68% in calves on a fixed time AI.
Cool.
And then put the bull in for one cycle, and ended up with an 84% overall. So that's good enough for us.
Yeah. And so there's a bit of bull pressure, as in you keep a few more and then leave enough up your sleeve that you can get rid of that 16, 17, whatever percent of dries that can.
Yeah, they just go into a feeder job, and the feeder job as good as it is. Yeah. Pretty keen to sell them on. But with our bull selection, with the little fellas we keep ourselves, and then we got a nutritionist, Jim Wade, to make us up a lick that they get to keep them going through the winter, and that's worked pretty well. But we try and only join them cows that currently the last couple of years we've joined for 9 weeks, but we're trying to shorten that up a bit. But we join little bulls at 1 to 20 females. And that's working pretty well for us. But just watch them after the first cycle. If there's a couple that aren't handling it, pull them out and give them a bit of TLC. Yep.
So I'm guessing those bulls coming out of the AI program, are they then hanging around to become herd bulls, or are they just you just wander them through and get a new batch next year? Or
pretty much get a new batch. There's just a couple that really go well that we keep, and they stack up phenotype and they handle the joining as a yearling, and then the genomics is okay. When we first started, I was a bit hesitant, sort of whether it was how accurate it was going to be. But so I weigh them each month just to try and screw it up, and it seems to ring pretty true. So yeah.
Right. So I guess you will have in places you managed and been around cattle before. I guess what was the impetus to use as much data as you could once you got hold of these cattle?
I suppose I've seen in the past people go to a bull sale of any breed and they buy a couple of really good ones for big money, take them home and try and breed a few to use. And I've seen the results of that where you just end up with a big tail, in my opinion anyway. The times I've seen it done, you end up with sort of some really good calves at the start when you look at their weaners, and then they tail off pretty quick. So I think pretty dangerous to do it without. And I wouldn't have even contemplated doing it without having some genomics and some science behind it. It'd just be too risky.
Yeah, and I guess we are really fortunate to be in the space we are now, where we've got all these tools that keep getting better and more information. I guess when we sort of advertised the project, what was it about the project that was sort of interesting with the MLA project we got running that you're a part of?
I suppose it's the best opportunity I've seen it goes for, the period of time it goes for. At the end of this, we're going to have, and there may be some new technology. This is all old hat, who knows? But it's just the period of time it goes for. It'll give us a pretty good idea as to, yes, it's worth. We can trust genomics, or no, we can't.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing we're trying to do is use that genomics to inform decisions, but also add in some of those things like you getting out there and weighing a few is always good to kind of, because we think there's going to be cattle that, regardless of how good their data says they're going to be, they're just not doing for whatever reason and aren't going to hang around. So I guess the opportunity to use a bit of measurement plus the genomics to make some good decisions about building a better herd is kind of
that's right.
Hopefully how it all works.
Yeah. I mean, that's the risk, I think, the way I see it from an agency perspective, as well as with our own cattle now, is you go around and look at bull sales and people pay a lot of money for bulls off the back of genomics, and sure, it's great, but it's only a tool at the end of the day, and that's my opinion. You've still got to have everything else right about it.
Yeah, I guess there's always stuff that, more and more we're getting most things measured, but while there's still stuff that isn't measured, we still need to kind of take that into account. Where, like, if you sit down now and think about what your cow looks like in 10 years' time, like that sort of breeding objective or that future animal that you'd like to be running, what would you like to shift about them the girls you got out there now?
Make them handle it. Like, there's a couple of lines with cattle that we bought that just kick a goal in any season.
Yeah.
When it got a bit tough here a couple of months ago, and there was some cattle that we purchased in, some as cows and some as heifers, and they were pretty good on performance, and they genomic really well, but they just haven't got the survivability. When the grass gets a bit short and things get a bit tough, they fold up and they don't go back in calf, and they have some issues. If we need to go and purchase more females to rebuild up after this last bit of a dry patch, we've reduced our numbers a bit. There's a couple of herds, one in southern New South Wales, up in the high country there, and there's a herd west of us here that we'd get in contact with those people first, and they'd be our first call, beg them to try and get some females off them, because the difference between the ones that handle it and the ones that don't, and it just seems these seasons are so hit and miss that, we're in high rainfall country with sort of 900 mil rainfall, but it's, when we have a month with zero rainfall, our country falls apart pretty quick.
Yeah, I guess high rainfall was great when it's coming, but you're well overstocked when it doesn't turn up. So
that's right. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Is there anything about those particular herds that you think, like whether you see a combination of traits or just about how they've been kind of the strategy or how they're bred, or what, is there anything that you sort of see in them that you can kind of learn from?
Yeah, each of them have been if that's one in the south is a really old herd, like started from a base in the 1930s. And they've probably, from what I can gather, they've probably only had sourced bulls from maybe 3 or 4 different operations, 3 or 4 different studs. And then the other one, they've never bought a bull anywhere else, and from this one stud for 28 years. So I guess there's, and the really good bulls that we see of any breed out there, the ones with stacked pedigrees, has always been what I was taught when I was younger, and stack the pedigree with good ones, with not too many holes in them. And I guess that's what these cattle are. They're probably not line bred, but they're don't have as much outcross as a lot of people seem to chase these days, especially in the Angus job. Yeah.
So consistency of strategy and breeding, and
That's right. And they've had the one family have been doing it, for a long period of time. Haven't had different chiefs making decisions too much.
Yeah.
So that's probably the thing. And sure, I get why people want to outcross, if there's a genetic defect or any of those sort of things. But with genomics, we should be able to get that worked out pretty quick. But as a general comment, I think we probably outcross more than we need to in some herds. That's been my experience anyway.
I think there's this massive fear of inbreeding that is mostly irrational. There is obviously irrational fear of inbreeding, but we hear. Well, in our job, we get a lot of people kind of striving for an outcross, whether it's cattle or sheep or whatever, and most of the time that isn't their lowest hanging fruit. Like that's not the thing that's holding them back. It's not going to be inbreeding. I mean, you can get into inbreeding suppression if you go nuts on it, but for your most commercial people and even lots of studs with a bit of scale, it's unlikely. Even when you really get nuts on a single sire for a while because he's got something you really like and you lock in on that. But it's amazing how quickly that just flows through the pedigrees and gets kicked out the other end as the new animals come through.
Yeah, that's right. I was pretty lucky in 2010. I had the pleasure of driving a guy from America around the country looking at cattle here for a couple of days. Jack Holden of Holden Herefords in Montana, and they're line bred cattle with an inbreeding coefficient 25-30%, somewhere a bit more than that, but which scares a lot of people. But he's sort of, and the thing that stuck with me, he says in a line breeding program, if you put one piece of rubbish in there, it'll explode. So you put a bull or a female in there that's not 100% right, or as close as you can get to right. If you put something in there that's got a shortfall, think, the rest will pick it up. Well, it just explodes.
Yeah,
that was his experience.
Yeah. No, well, once you can lock in the good stuff, but you also lock in the bad with line breeding, so it's a battle. That's a really interesting story, that whole line one. I need to get down that rabbit hole and get on, because isn't it that there was a number of them started and sort of line one was the only one that kind of worked and the rest have kind of failed?
Yeah, there was various different lines at Miles City Research Station, so the story goes, and the line ones have survived and the rest have fallen apart, I suppose, when the dwarfism thing. Yeah.
But then, well, according to Alistair Campbell, actually, who travelled over there last year, was saying that it's hard to find a good animals anywhere else, any good Hereford anywhere else that doesn't have some line one somewhere in its background now. Like
it's pretty much the way it is.
Yeah. Interesting. So I guess obviously that stayability or that ability to handle varying nutrition. Is there anything else you kind of would fix in the cows?
Out of that, there's probably some immune things that will come into that as well. But we do the Zoetis Rhino Guard and Bovie program, and that's been fantastic. It just about eliminates the tail and the weaners. They're just quite extraordinary how well that works. And there'll be other things that become available. Make a female that's a herd that's more resistant to things and just get the job done without too much interaction.
Yeah, because one of the challenges, it's not often what the top ones are doing that'll change your game. But if you've got a big tail, like you talked about before, like that's the thing that can upset the apple carters or stuff, the wastage that's coming out the back end that can impact profit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's for sure.
When you are sourcing AI size for people out there that are either doing the same or considering doing it, what does that strategy look like when you're looking for those semen size?
There's only been a couple of companies that we usually use, and they're usually the reps out here in Australia, and we get in contact with the guys in the US as well, if they're US bulls, but talk to them. And some of those companies are good enough that have already done an identity test on those bulls, so that we can align that with what we're doing.
Yeah.
But there's whole stacks and stacks of AI size out there. But it's interesting, I did a bit of Googling the other day and looked back at the AI size from 10 or 20 years ago in the Angus breed, and there's only a handful that have kicked a goal and done some good. There's a lot that just got thrown out. We seem to just pick the ones that come from that Montana area. That's just what we've been doing. And there's a lot of Angus cattle in Montana, as I understand. I haven't been there. I hope to get there one day. But that's where we get our calving ease and the vigour and get up out of the snow and get going. So that's what been the target mostly. Yeah. And we've got a pretty experienced guy that does our AI. I called him the original AI guru, not the modern day AI guru.
I guess as we step into a bit more genomics in these heifers, do you think have you seen anything so far? Have we done anything that's been interesting, or is it sort of too early to tell yet?
It's probably a bit early to tell. The only thing we did do, which is probably will be good for the trial, the 55 heifers that we've got in it, we didn't really. We usually get an independent guy to come in and class our heifers, but we sort of didn't have the numbers, and there was 55 there. I thought, we'll just test the whole lot and see what happens. The ones that had made weight got up to weight. So when we selected them a few months ago, they were to minimum weight of sort of 240 kilos, and otherwise we kept everything pretty much.
Yeah, right.
So there's a couple in there that I wouldn't normally keep. So it'll be probably half a dozen that we would have thrown out on phenotype. So it'll be really good to see how they come through.
Yeah, and they're the kind of things that even in our game, I think we spend a lot of time making decisions about who gets to stay and who gets to go, but you never see the ones that go, and you never get to see how they would have performed. So it's always interesting to have a few.
Yeah, that's right. And a couple of times in the past when I managed properties and you'd sell, quite extent running bigger herds and you'd sell heifers that you thought were inferior off to someone else and then see them a year or so later think, gee, we got it wrong with the polytype that day. And that's been, I suppose, it's the curiosity around the genomic testing thing when it became available. And thought, wow, let's give this a crack and see. But it's, so far with the bull thing, it's ringing true. So we'll see where we end up with the heifers.
Yeah, right. You obviously get a good look around the industry in your day job, and when it's not the weekend and you're farming cattle, what are you seeing out there? I guess is we've just gone through mostly through a pretty buoyant bull sale season in New Zealand, and no doubt there'll be records set in Australia this year with decent cattle prices around. Yeah,
there's a couple of early sales here have been sort of 10, 12, 14,000 averages without a really big tops in any of them. But once things warm up later, get into July and August, early September, there'll be maybe a few records broken. There's certainly been some records broken in New Zealand recently.
It's going crazy over here. There's a bit of grass around, and there's amazing weaner prices and stuff for fueling some big money out there. And there's probably about time for some of those guys maybe having a good combination of prices and rainfall. And it'll be interesting east in Australia what the rainfall does to whether it keeps markets up or not. But really,
that's the biggest governing factor, I guess. We get the rain, we can make it happen. But certainly, like the outlook for red meat. As you can see, I got a bit of grey hair who used to been around for a while. But, as I said previously a minute ago there, from where flock reduction scheme to $400 lambs and feeder steers going into feedlots at $2,500, it's just extraordinary. And so good to see. Like, when I was a young fella, we were sort of the outcasts if we're interested in livestock, and everyone was just trying to get the U-Butte biggest Steiger tractor and the biggest Caterpillar bulldozer and keep knocking country over. But it's certainly changed from that. And a couple of mates in the south that are into the seed stock game with sheep and it's extraordinary. They've kept the balanced farm guys through the Riverina, growing lucerne and running fair few stock as well as cropping enterprise. It's great to see a balance rather than just wall to wall tractors going.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be really interesting with things like the virtual fencing coming in that mean that even if you have gone nuts cropping, you can now bring cattle back in and sort of run them as if you've got lots of fences there as well. Like there's sort of interesting options now that I guess technology are enabling, which we didn't have before, which means you can crop back out or drop back out of cropping into a beef enterprise without having to put a heap of fences back up or add a lot of wire.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's certainly changed the game as well as drones and a whole host of things happening. The virtual fencing, IVF, it's genomic testing. It's great to see that we've got some tools in the livestock front, whereas once it was just, the new GPS for the boom spray. That was the yield monitoring. That was about it. And the, livestock, we just had to keep on chipping away. But, we can get the red meat job, keep it up at this sort of level. And then all of a sudden, we work on with property, real property markets that any of this better country in Eastern Australia doubles every 10 years. We sell a farm for $2 or $3 million in the real estate business here and think, wow, how's this going to be worth?
Yeah,
that's $6 million. And then, you get 10 years later, go, wow, that happened. So we see we're probably in a bit of a holding pattern at the moment. There's some opportunities out there, but then people, on the better country, they want to step in. They can see that, the outlook is very bright. So, but you put, 10% per annum on top of whatever the return is. Depends on what you're doing with livestock and crops. All of a sudden, it's a pretty good investment. You wake up in the morning, it's still there, not like a share portfolio.
Yeah.
Some of our political leaders around the world get a few funny ideas at times, and all of a sudden things start to plummet.
Yeah, that's caused a bit of grey hair and a bit of loss of hair on my front. But yeah, no, for sure, it is an awesome time to be in the livestock game, and long may it continue. And yeah, hopefully with the PDS, we can definitely demonstrate how we can implement or bring genomics into that decision making and make sure we're putting our best foot forward with the heifer selection we're doing.
Yeah. Just on the virtual fencing market, is there any update on where it's up to with sheep? Is that still going?
Not that I'm aware of, and there's chat around it, and I guess there's not anything kind of ready to roll yet. But you'd be a brave person to say that it's not going to happen.
It's moving pretty quick, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think, obviously the price point and stuff on sheep is a bit different than cattle, and there's lots of challenges. But I don't know. I keep saying that we're one step change in battery technology away from a whole world of differences in sensors and stuff. Like at the moment, we're just probably limited a little bit by battery techs and weight and stuff. But that's, I'm sure there's thousands, if not more than that, people out there who know there's millions to be made from getting the next battery technology. So I feel like that's where we're at in terms of the shape thing. Yeah, and that's what it'll definitely happen. And that will be the single biggest game changer we've seen. And I think what we're seeing now with virtual in cattle and some of these sort of in paddock weighing and sort of monitoring systems, and we are getting closer to the GPS and the boom spray like you talked about before, and that keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Geoff. We'll leave it there. But thanks very much for your participation in the PDS project with MLA. And
no worries. Thanks for the opportunity. We can certainly TSU heifers pretty quick, and at Ingleville we've got Amber there give us a hand. So it all works pretty well.
Bash them through. That's fantastic. Excellent. Righto, mate. We'll leave you to it, and look forward to catching up soon.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Geoff. Thanks for listening, and thanks again to our three fantastic sponsors. Heinegger, who are proud world leaders in the manufacturing and supply of professional sheep shearing and clipping equipment. Allflex Livestock Intelligence, part of MSD Animal Health, offer extensive livestock product portfolio focused on animal health management, all backed up by exceptional service. ProWay Livestock Equipment offer turnkey solutions from design through to professional installation and specialise in facilities that are tailored to your specific operation for all livestock species. We thank these three great companies for their ongoing support of the Head Shepherd podcast.